We are finally going to the unknown House Varun system when Shattered Space launches next week, a new planet to explore, weapons, spacesuits, and more. If you're heading back into the Starfield like I am, here's the best tips and tricks and things you should know when returning, plus how to get this insane new armor suit. Let's go! Thanks Bethesda ANZ for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description to learn more about Starfield or the Shattered Space expansion. Firstly, there are two new settings that you should absolutely look at before you get into the game. The first is the dialogue camera. Now, you will find this in your settings in accessibility. There is an option to toggle this on and off. While you're here as well, there are FOV sliders which were added after launch that can also be found in this menu if you want to change your first, your third, or your ship person FOV. The dialogue camera is the big one for me anyway in terms of like immersion for the game. So by toggling this off, you remove that zoom in effect when you talk to NPCs that has that depth of field. This means that you can sort of transition from talking to people very comfortably and smoothly, whereas you just talk to them, they just immediately start talking and you can sort of move the camera around freely. I find this a little bit more engaging, especially in some scenarios when there are two people talking either to each other or to you, and you can sort of freely move the camera between them yourself rather than the camera just like jumping between them on its own. While you're there in the settings, you may notice a new gameplay options that you can change here as well. Now, I do highly recommend that you play around with these settings and find something that works for you. What I personally like to do is bump up the combat difficulty a little bit, which does increase the amount of XP you get from combat. But because I like to pick up literally everything that I find in the world, I change it to an increased carry capacity so that I can carry more stuff. Now, what you can do here is find a balance where you're still actually getting like a positive increase to your XP, depending on the different settings that you want to change. But I do highly recommend to jump in here and change things. Like you can change how afflictions work or combat damage, NPC credits, literally everything you could think of. You could absolutely go in here and change and make the experience a bit more custom to you. Now, the biggest addition to the game, I think, since launch is the Rev 8. It's one of the most recent additions, and you can grab the Rev 8 by talking to any ship technician, New Atlantis, wherever you are. You want to talk to the ship technician there, and you'll be able to buy the Rev 8 for 25,000 credits. Now, while you're here as well, you can actually change the color of your Rev 8 to match your ship or match something else if you like. Now, this will then spawn next to your ship at literally every location where you land your ship. The Rev 8 will land next to it. So this will then allow you to explore on planets much more easily. The ship does fly, like it absolutely goes when you boost and like jump in the air and use that stuff. What's really good here is it makes scanning on planets so much easier. When I land on new planets, I do like to 100% the scanning. Or not only can you get some crude credits off it, but I just find seeing things that are completed satisfying. It's just a good little dopamine hit for me, and you can do this much easier now on the Rev 8 as you can scan anything that you could on the ground while you're actually in the vehicle. And it does have a weapon that you can shoot enemies with as well. Something else to note here is that there is a new vehicles menu screen that you can see at the ship technician. So if they do add more vehicles in the future, you'll be able to go here and choose which ones that you have active at any time. Speaking of that ship, you can customize your ship much more freely now that you can decorate inside your ship. What this really is beneficial for is that you don't actually need as many hab modules anymore to meet all of like your personal requirements that you want on your ship. That could be having a workshop or having an armory to store like your weapons and armor, what have you. You don't actually need all of those hab modules anymore because you can customize the interior of your ship and just add them freely to any hab module, right? Like there are new hab modules that are just empty, so you can put whatever you like in them. And in the old ones, you can decorate them as well to add any of the different crafting tables or display racks or anything you want to actually add to them yourself. You can now do that, which makes such a difference to creating more of a compact ship that isn't like having every single hab module so you can meet all those requirements. It makes it easier to make a good looking ship. There is a new way to get credits in Starfield, and that is through the bounty system, which is perfect for me because I made a bounty hunter as my main character. Now, when you bring up the scanner on any of the settled systems cities, certain citizens will actually show up as red. Now, you can interact with these citizens and like confront them. You can either persuade them to have a peaceful resolution, so they'll, you know, duck down and put their hands up. Someone will come and capture them. You'll still get your credits. Or if you're a bit more of an aggressive type, you can just enter combat and shoot them in the face and you'll still get your credits. So entirely up to you which solution you want to do. And sometimes you'll get other options where you can extort a couple of credits out of them as well. But it's a great way to build up your credits just when you're on these planets, whether you're at a killer city, neon I found to be absolutely fantastic for fighting these. There's always heaps in neon. I mean, essentially just travel around, look for these ones that are red, talk to them quickly, get anywhere from 1,000, 5,000, 6,000 credits, and then move on your merry way. There's also a new Elite Bounties board at the Trackers Alliance HQ on Aquila City. This has unique elite bounties that give you more rewards for actually being able to complete them. In order to unlock this specific board, you will need to join the Trackers Alliance, which is pretty hard to miss. A mysterious tracker will find you. For me, this happened on New Atlantis on multiple playthroughs. You'll essentially just need to talk to them. They'll give you that starter quest, and once you finish that quest and become a true member of the Trackers Alliance, you'll be able to head down to the basement where you'll find this unique board that has these elite bounties. One of the best new additions is that you can now craft ammo, which is something that I always struggled with in Starfield, but now you can actually craft it rather than having to buy it, and so you can save those precious credits. In order to craft ammo, you'll need to go to a research station and research the ammunitions options, which are entirely new. Plus, there are new melee weapon tiers here that you can research if you do like to use melee weapons. Once you've completed the research at the industrial workbench, you'll be able to create ammo. Now, you will need primers and diodes, which is a new resource. Now, these can be found like on planets and just around the place, but the best way to get them is by buying them from weapon dealers and other merchants. They're relatively cheap. They also have no weight, so you can carry as many of these as you like. Anytime I've been stopping at major cities, I've been buying these primers so that I can create ammo when I do run out, which has happened a lot for me. You do need the basic, like, necessary raw resources as well, but the primers are the main thing that's sort of hard to get. So definitely recommend buying a bunch of these when you do go to these settled systems, because we're going to need a lot of that ammunition when we head to Dazrai in Shattered Space. Another point that I wanted to touch on in this video is New Game or New Game Plus. Now, if you're booting into an old character, you may not like your appearance anymore. You can head to an enhance on any of the major cities and change your appearance or your name, any details like that. Something to note as well is that New Game Plus did get some additional options as well, in that you can change your appearance by immediately starting a New Game Plus, as well as change your traits. You can spice up gameplay in that way. If you are planning to start Shattered Space in New Game Plus, or even from a new character, you may want to consider the Serpent's Embrace trait, because you will then be worshipping the Great Serpent, and no doubt that Great Serpent is going to be very important for the DLC. But should you start it in New Game Plus? Now, I do have a video that breaks down everything you need to know about New Game Plus, and I won't go into any spoilers here, but that video does cover all the spoilery stuff, so go and watch that if you want a bit more details. But what I wanted to talk about here is that there are certain dialogue options and things that do change when you are in New Game Plus, and it has been mentioned that this will also be reflected in the Shattered Space expansion. So if you do have a character that hasn't gone into New Game Plus, you may want to take them through the DLC expansion first, so you can see what those dialogue options are like just on a traditional character, and then try it from a New Game Plus perspective and see what actually changes. I'd also recommend to take Andrasia with you, because obviously with her connections with House Varun, there's going to be a lot of important details there. Now, I did mention an insane new set of armor that you can get, which is part of the Creations, which has been out for a little while, and there's a bunch of really good free mods that you can download on PC or Xbox. I would definitely recommend to at least grab the free Bethesda Game Studios ones, because they don't disable achievements. There is no downside to grabbing these. Obviously, if you grab ones that aren't from BGS, then they will disable your achievements, so just think about that if you want to go that route. There's no harm in grabbing these weapon skins, the observatory, or the new armor set. Now, the Gravos suit will then be found at your room in the lodge. You can go there and grab this, and this is like better than basically any armor that I've come across. Like, it's just a free, fantastic, legendary suit of armor that you can get right at the start of the game that'll carry you through most of the game. This character that's picking it up here is level 7, and this armor is absolutely exceptional. It looks really cool as well. I do like the aesthetic of it, so you can grab that. But that's not all that's been added since launch. There's a lot of minor things that really add up to something substantial. We've had a bunch of graphical enhancements, from better lighting to the FOV slider I mentioned earlier, the NVIDIA DLSS features and frame gen, AMD FSR3 support, Intel X super sampling, ultra wide support, and a bunch of enhancers to the Xbox Series X and S versions, including performance modes. And there's obviously been a ton of bug fixes and quest fixes and smaller improvements, like being able to eat items without having to open the menu, an improved photo mode, the surface maps, which is actually huge. One thing that the surface maps does actually change that you may not notice is that there are new icons for all of the different shops in the scanner now, because they not only show on the map, but they show in the scanner. scanner. So if you want to go to a specific shop, you can just open up your scanner and like fast travel there, or just head exactly there. It's much easier to navigate now in the cities. Now, if you want some more beginner or general advice for literally everything in Starfield, I have a 2-hour long video that breaks down every single mechanic or tip you could possibly imagine for Starfield. I will link that here if you want to watch that next. But thank you, Bethesda ANZ, for sponsoring this video. Thanks to you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.